welcome to the Push Pull Sales and Marketing Podcast. I'm Marcello.
And I'm Sherry. In each episode, we provide you with sales and marketing strategies that you can implement immediately into your own business. Today, we're going to be talking about using Instagram for business. But real quick, we want to remind you about our resources page on the website. If you go to pushpullsales.com/resources, you can find a whole list of books there. We've used the Amazon affiliate link so that it helps out the show a little bit. But they are all books that we have read and stand behind for sure.
And if you don't like reading, we also recommend a couple of the great courses and audiobooks as well.
Yep, so you can check that out, pushpullsales.com/resources. But like I said, for today, we're going to be talking about using Instagram for business, and it's just Marcello and I today. We've had a lot of guests lately, so we're going to...
Kicking it old school.
Yeah, come back here to Marcello and I for a little while. This one, I'm curious to see what kind of questions Marcello comes up with. But I've really been interested in a lot of this lately and have been using a lot of Instagram for various websites. We obviously use it for Push Pull Sales. I just launched a new parenting podcast with a partner, and we're doing really well on Instagram off the bat, my personal Instagram. We also have one for our town that we live in. I started one for our local community that has really taken off. And I've done it for a couple other people that I've worked for, people that I've helped with their website and their blogging and their social presence. I've launched Instagram pages for them, and I feel like through all of the trial and error, launching a whole variety in different topics, in different industries, I feel like there's still a couple things that really hold true and that you can grow your audience on Instagram and really make it worth your while. So something that I wanted to touch on initially, because I think it's hard when we're talking about social media and stuff. If we're thinking about Facebook or Twitter, a lot of times the thing that comes up is like click-through rates. Like, why? If I'm posting to this channel, I'm posting there so that people go to my website. And we need to shift our thinking a little bit in that regard, because while it's very valuable to have people go to our website, they're just not going to a lot of the time. Less and less people want their content. They want to consume their content on the platform that they're already on. So longer form Facebook content has been doing well, but then the same goes for Instagram. So don't think that Instagram isn't working for you just because people aren't clicking over to your website. As you probably are aware, Instagram, you can't use URLs in the comments currently. You can have it in your bio, but people aren't going to then click to your bio and click through to the site very often. They do it, but you're not seeing really high rates. So the point of posting to Instagram isn't necessarily to drive traffic to your website. It is basically to build brand awareness, to be there on the platform in and of itself. Go ahead. I have a little bit more to say about that, but go ahead.
The fact that, so you say link in the bio, so that also becomes problematic too, because, people might be interacting, especially because Instagram has kind of changed things up where you can check a hashtag and see something that might be a little bit older. So, I'm not going to...
If you posted to like a specific post...
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but there's a social media company that had a whole thing and link in the bio, and the link in the bio took you to a dead link, and this is for a quote-unquote social media company.
Right. Well, and I've been guilty of that too. Like, I'll say, like, go see this full post about this and links in the bio, but if...
No, you don't make mistakes, so...
But I mean, then if they come back and look at it 2 weeks later, it's not going to be the same link anymore. So... I do understand why.
What about sponsored? Sponsored, can you?
What do you mean?
Like if you do like a sponsored post on Instagram, like, or a promoted post, whatever you call it.
Oh, right. So if you pay for an ad, you get a button underneath your ad. So underneath the picture, you can have it say like "Learn more" or "Download now" or like an actionable thing right underneath. So if you're paying for an ad, it's a little bit different. But the thing about Instagram is it's just continual brand awareness. So let's take a company like Buffer, which, I've recommended to a lot of people for social media scheduling type stuff. They do not post their own images necessarily. They're curating images that they think their audience will like to see. We like to see pretty pictures, whether it's a beautifully organized desk, whether it's a cabin in the mountain, whether it's, a pretty lake. They have a common theme.
I don't like
and a common thread. I know you don't, but I do. They have a common theme throughout their feed, and the point of that is that people will follow them for the pretty pictures, and as they're scrolling through their feed, they will keep seeing Buffer. They will just keep noticing. Buffer's not sending them anywhere, but they're staying top of mind, and I think that's something that Instagram is really, really good for, because people love to browse through. People are very engaged on Instagram. Even if they're not doing anything, they're at least taking the time to see what you're posting, and they're taking the time to see who's posting it.
So in terms of time and effort invested on Instagram, you would compare that to, like, for example, like when you have, Britney Spears, Dave Chappelle, either, selling Coke or Pepsi or anything like that. It's hard to put like a direct correlation between, like, well, yeah, I'm drinking more Pepsi because I saw Britney Spears drinking it, or, Dave Chappelle, whatever, had a commercial with that, but just keeping that top of mind because it's harder to have that direct correlation.
I would compare that more to, because there are Instagram influencers. Like, there's, the Instagram models that'll, like, promote products then that product sales will go up because somebody saw the Instagram model wearing that necklace and she tagged the company, so they'll go check it out. But as far as, like, posting your own stuff, people get stuck in this thing a lot of times where they're like, what am I going to post to Instagram? Like, maybe my day is just in a cubicle, or my day is in a warehouse, or, I'm podcasting from my house. Like, what's my day going to be about? What am I going to post to Instagram that anybody would remotely care about? And that's where you can think outside of the box a little bit. You can do the pretty quotes, which we do a lot on our Instagram. We just do quotes. Those really are big on Instagram. Yeah. We've been doing that for Adore Them, the new parenting site. It's just all quotes, and people love it. You can have other things like the community Instagram that we run is just pictures from the local community. So we can go out and grab a whole bunch in one day and then kind of sporadically post them.
So that'll actually transition into another question I have for you then, especially because we have so many different Instagrams. So let's say you are Nick, the State Farm guy. Mm-hmm. Do you have a Nick, the State Farm guy, and that's just like your insurance stuff, or do you have like personal and business mixed together? When do you separate them, if you would?
Yeah, so this is something that I've run across a lot. I feel like we've run across in our own lives a lot, and I think it depends how much overlap there's going to be between the audience. The people that listen to this podcast probably don't care to see 3 pictures a day of my kids.
But they're really cute.
They are really cute, but on my personal Instagram, it's kind of branded that way, that that I'm a stay-at-home mom and I do freelance writing and podcasting and whatever else from home. And that's part of, like, my personal brand. However, Push-Pull Sales is really like, the motivating quotes and the sales quotes and the practical advice. So that belongs over there. If it was an insurance guy, I think absolutely, because you're going to be working one-on-one with this guy, that it's okay to be a little bit more personable and kind of mix the personal and the insurance together. It's something that maybe you could do a lot of videos on that kind of Instagram page so that people understand who you are, where you're coming from, and what kind of advice you have to offer.
And one thing...
But it's a level of comfort, too. If you're not comfortable sharing the personal stuff with your potential clients, that's okay. You don't have to. It really, part of it, I don't think there's any hard and fast rules when it comes to that.
And one thing to preference, if you are Nick, the State Farm guy or anything like that. Depending on your industry, you do have to check for obviously compliance reasons and everything that with your own company. Right. See what kind of policy that they already have in place. You don't want to kind of get something going and get momentum, and then your company says, no, I don't want you to do that, or no, we have a strict policy against that. And don't always look at the company too for restricting certain things as right. necessarily a negative thing. You have to work within the confines that you have, but you'll find overall that most companies aren't overly restrictive on that. I mean, I think of an industry where that would definitely help is if you're in car sales or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely too. Or maybe because I've seen people use Facebook. They say, hey, I have like a big deal, or I'm close, to getting a bonus or something like right. that. Or even just like, hey, I need someone to come in and move cars for 30 minutes. So right. again, you don't know.
But the difference though, I feel like with Instagram is that anything that's promotional mm-hmm. really doesn't seem to do well on Instagram. The second that you say, like, here's a sale or here's, my latest thing or whatever, people are just there to kind of catch up with life, look at some pretty pictures, glean a little bit of information, and read some quotes, but really keep it, you can kind of give that right hook, as Gary Vee would say, every once in a long while. But Instagram is not a good platform for that.
And that's one thing. Like it was well balanced. So like there'd be a picture of like a new car or whatever, like on the lot, or like a picture of like whatever, like hey, I just sold this, or hey, like I think this feature's really cool, or something like that. And you're not like directly selling that. But then, in the same token, when I keep looking at that, when it does come time for me to buy a car, I'm be like, oh yeah, I do want to talk to
right. It's top of mind,
right?
And being able to balance that with personal photos and stuff too helps it be top of mind. You're a little bit more comfortable. You're more likely to ask him a couple more questions. The inventory is a really great idea. If you're a car salesman, you're getting new cars on the lot, or new cars are driving off the lot, whatever it is. I mean, just keeping people interested in that and up to date with that. There is a consignment store near us that I had never heard of before, but somehow it showed up on my Instagram because somebody, I don't know, I found it somehow, and it was a local consignment store, and I started browsing through. I was basically online shopping on Instagram. I would have never stepped foot in that store, but I saw a table that I liked, and I was considering just driving over and buying that table because I saw it on Instagram. People are on their phones.
Where would we put this table?
It was before we got our new kitchen table.
Okay. I'm like, what are you talking about?
We finally got a kitchen table that fits in our little nook kitchen area. But yeah, prior to that, I was doing all sorts of research everywhere.
That's too funny.
So if you're running, that kind of thing, anything like a resale store, anything, why not post your inventory? If you're a small business, like keep people up to date of what you have. Otherwise, they kind of just forget about you. They're not reading local magazines or they're not looking at local ads, but they're scrolling through Instagram.
It kind of gives someone, too, like an actual glimpse of your store. Like I know a guy I grew up wrestling with, and he has a jewelry store, and he does a phenomenal job with that, too. Like you see everything, and it's like...
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like, I really like that. Like, oh, wow, that is a really nice piece. And you wouldn't, like...
Rather than, like, driving there and risking it and not knowing if you're going to like anything and being bothered by a sales associate, you don't know, like, what it's going to be. But
and the outside of the store is completely different than the inside of the store, too. Like, you wouldn't even, know that you'd have, like, those kind of pieces in there.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, like, attention and where everything is to Instagram versus Snapchat?
I feel like Instagram is really continuing to grow. I think people were starting to head over to Snapchat, and then Instagram stories came out and people said, never mind. It's easier for me to just stay here where I already have my audience. And Snapchat is still going strong, for sure. But Instagram did a really good job adapting. They were saying like, people wanted, because Instagram turned into a place where Your pictures have to be pretty. They have to look nice. They have to go together. Like, it feels like there's a lot of brain power that goes into it. And that wasn't the original intention necessarily, but that's what it turned into. And Snapchat was a place where people could just post stuff that looked a little ugly, but was real. This is my life here and now with a cat filter on my face. So Instagram was like, all right, well, you want here and now, like, we can do that. So they incorporated the Instagram stories, and people have been taking advantage of that.
Can you put filters over the video?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. So it's just really basic. So it is kind of nice.
How many people are on, myself included, that would have said, like, I don't understand Instagram. Like, why would you, like, I don't know, like, have like an $800 phone with like a super duper camera that like makes realistic photos to make it look like a picture that was taken in 1940?
Yeah, well.
So how many people have jumped on board with that, like now, like where it is more universally accepted?
What's more universally accepted?
Instagram. Like, how many people, like, how recently has that growth been, or has that been a steady growth, or was there like a surge?
I forget what the stats were, but Instagram was like one of the I think they were the fastest to hit 1 million users or something. There was some stat where like they grew faster than any social platform before it, and probably since then. I think they still really, they just blew up.
Instagram models for attention. Then what's up? How do you do that?
So that's the other thing. You don't need, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the Instagram accounts that have millions and millions of followers. Every single picture they post gets thousands of likes, and it's easy to get caught up in that and feel like, you're not making a dent. However, most normal people realize that it's hard to build a following, and that a couple people paying attention to your pictures, a couple loyal people, you might notice the same 5 to 10 people like all of your posts. And that's valuable as well. The unique thing about Instagram is that, you absolutely should be using hashtags, and they can really get your stuff in front of people who would not have seen it otherwise. Any of the other things, people have to know who you are and then go find you on social media for a lot of things. With Instagram, they can be easily browsing a hashtag or a subject or whatever it might be. They go down the Instagram rabbit hole and they find a picture of yours. And then they click over to your profile, and if they like what your layout looks like, they might follow you.
How many hashtags is too much?
You can have 30, and I say use them. Like,
so
why
it's no
not?
longer
So
to the point where it's
so
not like
you're not
Twitter, where like
you're
if
not,
you have like too many hashtags, it's annoying. If you have like
so you're not putting it in your description underneath your picture. You are doing your description, and then your first comment is all 30 of your hashtags.
And that's okay. Like it has the same weight.
There's no, Instagram isn't punishing people. Oh, you mean the hashtags have the same weight if it's not in the description?
Correct.
Right. It's still, if they're in the comment of the picture is visible via that hashtag.
And that's if you make that comment. So what happens if you hashtag someone else's thing?
I believe it used to be that it would show up. I believe it's still that way.
So if like someone
but the thing is, since I use 30 hashtags,
you don't know.
I don't think anybody else can comment a hashtag because I filled it up.
Because there are some people that like will post like really nice pictures. They don't put any hashtag. You can only like tag someone in it, right? Like, or like comment with that person so they can see it. Like if you want like more people to see it, like let's say it's like, I don't know, like really like pizza or something like that, and you want to do like hashtag food is life.
Yeah.
Or pizza is life, I guess.
Yeah.
Other people would be able to see it if I did it on someone else's picture.
Right. I think so. That's what I'm saying. I think that's still the case.
Let us know. Experiment. Play around with it a little bit.
Like if you posted a picture of pizza and I commented pizza is life, and then I went to the hashtag pizza is life, your picture will show up. So do your hashtag research. And a lot of this is just going on Instagram, go to the search, go to like the hashtag search, and let's say for push-pull sales, I'll just search the hashtag sales. Up at the top, it gives me a whole bunch of other related keywords that might fit into that. Or if I'm going around and I'm looking at some other business related Instagram accounts, which types of hashtags are they using, which seem to be working well. I pick a couple of like the ones that, like sales. My picture is going to get pushed down to the bottom a lot faster under the sales hashtag because so many people are using it. Mm-hmm. If I use a longer keyword, like a longer hashtag, like maybe sales advice, my picture might be more visible for longer to not as many people. So just like you would do with SEO, kind of balance the more obscure hashtags with the really broad ones and put together a collection. So put together 30 hashtags. Then what you're going to do, so you don't have to type them out every time or copy paste them every time into that first comment, you're going to go to your phone settings. I know what it is for the iPhone. I'm not sure what it is for an Android, but you can create a keyboard shortcut. So it's like settings, general, keyboard, text replacement. And you can go in there and say that if you type a phrase, I can say my shortcut is push-pull tags. If I type in push-pull tags in Instagram, it'll auto-populate all 30 of my hashtags
and
for
you
that.
can use that too for other stuff. So like I use that, for example, I have a couple, or fairly frequently, I have to reference something that's like a registered or copywritten. So like it'll automatically put the phrase and like the register, or like put the phrase and the actual trademark. So that way you don't have to like go and find it in the actual keyboard. So it definitely helps save a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you set it up the right way.
With that.
So yeah, since I have so many Instagram accounts that I'm running, I just have my little short codes that I put in for everything.
Once it's ready in Instagram,
correct? You can edit a description. You can't edit a comment. So if you wanted to change it, which, you can do after the fact. The nice part about putting the keywords in the comments is that if later on I feel like I've gotten all the use I can out of those keywords, I can just go in and delete them if I want.
Delete the comment and then put a new
you can put new hashtags in. Instagram, it used to be that when you put the hashtag, your picture went to the top, but now it's only the date of the picture is where it is in the timeline of the hashtag.
Okay.
So the point I wanted to make with the hashtags especially is that people will be able to find you that they wouldn't have seen you otherwise. The case in point for this one was the reason that Tom Hopkins people reached out to us was because they found us on Instagram and saw that we had pretty decent engagement, and they wanted him on the podcast.
Was that why? Because
she said we found you on Instagram.
Oh, he followed me on Twitter too. I wasn't sure if that which came first, the Twitter or the Instagram or
the email. They reached out and they said we found you on Instagram. We're trying to build his following.
Oh. That's really cool.
Like to come on the podcast. So you don't, and that being said, I forget what we're up to. We're over 1,000, I think, by a little bit on Instagram, 1,000 followers. So by no means are those huge numbers in Instagram influencer terms. Yeah, but it made a huge impact.
And it's people that are looking specifically for that kind of stuff. If I wanted to look at Instagram models, for example, I bet there's a lot more able-bodied males that are looking for that kind of stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
Or like humorous stuff too. Like I feel like there's just a bunch of that. There's not as much.
Yeah.
Serious stuff. And again, I'd rather be the top dog in whatever I'm trying to, whatever field I'm at than really just trying to be at the bottom of like a million other people. You don't want to be where there's too much competition, where everything's crowded. So you're really covering well in terms of, and we talked about this in other podcasts too, where to play and how to win. So it seems like you have a very good understanding of...
Right, like podcast is not on Pinterest. Pinterest is the number one driver for my parenting websites. It is not where we're playing for push-pull sales and marketing.
Yeah, I don't see Pinterest
No, that's what I'm saying. So but Instagram, I think, is often viewed as like, oh, that's just for kids, or I don't know, I don't understand, or this, that, and the other. So it is important to post things that look nice, but don't let that totally overwhelm you. Like, there are ways you can curate other people's pictures and, with their permission, repost stuff from your audience. If you already have an engaged audience, the easiest Instagram account that I built up was for an author, and she already had a great audience. She was working on her, I believe, 13th book, and people were already engaged with her. It was so easy to build an Instagram following for her. They loved to follow her because they loved her content already. So if you already have an audience, maybe you can just repost the things they're posting. You can reach out to them and create content that way. But I wanted to touch on the following a little bit. If we had done this episode even a little while ago, my advice here would be a little bit different, because I was playing around with using apps that automatically follow and unfollow people on Instagram. Building a following on Instagram, when it comes down to it, is you're just gonna have to do some of that. You're gonna have to do some of the following and unfollowing accounts. But those third-party apps that do that are now in violation of Instagram's terms and guidelines or whatever. So don't do that. You don't want to get your account suspended, but you can still do it manually. I think they allow you to follow 50 people an hour, I think, is their cap. But what you want to do is, as you're building your Instagram account, go look at other similar accounts in your industry that are doing a good job, that have a good following, and you go to their profile, you click on their followers, like who's following them, and you just follow the people that are following them. You know that they're already interested in the topic. You know that they're already engaged on Instagram, and comment? You're just... I'm going to get to that.
Okay, you will? Okay.
So following is, I feel like the people you follow are more likely to follow you back. However, then that, it's a tough game of you don't want to be the Instagram account that follows 1,000 people and has 100 followers. So you're trying to balance that. You should absolutely be engaging genuinely with the community. So I will go to a hashtag. Maybe I'll just go to hashtag sales. And if I'm watching TV, I'll just sit there and, double tap all the pictures all the way down. I'll like everything. If you're liking things, people might not necessarily notice you. If you follow them, typically they're going to check you out and maybe follow you back if they like what they see. If you're liking it, it might go unnoticed. But it's an easy thing to do. Commenting. Do not do the copy paste comment or the little emoji comment. This drives me nuts. People think that this is a valuable way to provide to engage in the community. Great post, best pick ever,
amazing,
and amazing exclamation point, amazing dynamite emoji, And that it's so generic, and they just copy paste all the way down. In the Louis Lavelle podcast, he said that sometimes he'll do or his friends will do just a blank white square. They'll just post a blank square, and people are beautiful image, great capture. He's so it's obviously awesome. Just that's these awesome. Just...
Now, is that a bot, or do you think that's actually people doing
that? I don't know. It might be automated, too, or it might be people copy-pasting. But either way, do not do that. You just annoy people. Same thing. Do not send the auto DMs. Do not... If I follow you, I get so many back that are thank you for following me. Check out blah, 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 blah. No, you don't need that. You don't, let's forget it.
And people on Instagram aren't as inclined to interact back and forth aside from like a comment.
Right,
Like, it's
right.
more of
So
like
there's not a ton of interaction. So that's where I wanted to say, if you leave a genuine comment, you will get noticed. If you leave something that's actually meaningful and applies to that picture and does not promote yourself, people will be interested.
And if you've had some traction with it, and it's funny too, like we started working with a couple different companies. One company in general, we took a look at what they were doing last year and where their leads were coming from. And it was like, a lot of it's coming from Facebook and Instagram. Double down on that,
Right.
Like, and then even when people would interact too, like, I'd say double down on that. Like, you see it's working, go ahead and do that. So once you start dabbling a little bit and finding, what kind of messages and what kind of, voice you have.
Right.
Well,
a lot of it is just, as we say all the time, it's just being a real human, like being genuine. Like if you see
was that one of our
a cute
R's for
picture
territory
of
management?
Be a real human.
Yeah. What was it? The R's of? Oh yeah, it was right timing and be a real person. Yeah, that was one of them.
But so it's so easy. Like if you don't force yourself to comment on every single thing, then yeah, that's going to sound canned. But if you see something that really catches your eye, let them know that. Maybe provide a little extra. There was, I came across a new blogger and she was saying that she was just launching her site. And I noticed, her Instagram bio didn't have anything in it. So I was just kind of like, hey, congrats on the new site. Quick tip, like, you might want to put da-da-da-da-da in your bio to help, gain some traction. She was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It doesn't take much of my time, but just be helpful in the community. Don't try to game the system. There's a little bit, there's those things like, use the 30 hashtags and follow and unfollow to a certain extent. But when you can, when you're typing something and posting pictures, try to really be genuine about it.
And you want to be careful too on how you're interacting too, because if you're like, I don't know, well, bad example, like let's say you're playing around and just commenting on every Instagram model, and then all of a sudden you are commenting about a car. Can people see that too? Like people see like blah 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 followed 20 people or blah 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 like these.
I don't
photos.
know how many people actually look at that and how quickly like it buzzes by, but like technically,
I'm a very high level stalker. So
technically you could go through and see like recent activity from people for sure. So I wanted to mention as well, I don't like timing of posting on Instagram, I'm sure varies depending on your industry. However, I have found
can you manage that with another app?
I don't want to recommend anything right now because I'm not sure what violates Instagram's thing. The safest way is just to use Instagram.
Okay.
There are some things and websites that I have heard of and some services that you can do stuff, but really it's so quick, especially if you have your keyboard shortcuts, if you know what you want to post. Like I have separate iPhone folders on my iPhone of like for separate Instagram accounts, so I know what I want to post. So I have it there. It's ready to go. I have found for whatever reason, like between 9 and 9:30 a.m. or PM, both seem to be pretty good times for all of the accounts, especially the 9 p.m. So I could go on at 9 p.m., spend 15 minutes posting to like 5 different Instagram accounts. And if I'm using my 30 hashtags, I can get a good amount of likes. I can get a good amount of engagement and followers just from that. If I post it other times, like in the afternoon or, late morning, I have seen like engagement like in half of what I can get if I'm posting it around 9 p.m. So experiment with it for sure. But that's just seems to be what I've found. I think people are just kind of scrolling through late at night, and I feel like even time zone wise, like we're here on the East Coast, so 9 p.m. East Coast, at least that then is like 6 p.m. West Coast. So people are still probably like out of work, and it seems to just kind of catch people.
And Instagram's still growing, and Twitter's kind of flatlining, correct? Like if you look at, not flatlining, but like plateauing, like it hasn't moved at all. So in terms of...
Yeah. Well, and Instagram was the first... like Facebook bought them, but let them be a separate entity. So it's kind of interesting that they have a lot of Facebook's resources and they play well together, which really helps it as well.
Yeah, because more and more, like you'll see, like your Facebook friend is on Instagram, or
Right.
and also like this person hasn't posted in a while, which I don't see that anywhere else. Like where they say like you should check this out.
The other thing...
All your friends post all the time, so you don't see that.
I guess not. Instagram, so if you like share to Facebook, it shows up like as a native picture, which is nice, like not a link.
Do you recommend double downing on that? So whatever goes Instagram goes on Facebook, or do you feel like Instagram should be maybe some more unique content that isn't universally shared?
I mean, it depends. So for push-pull, I share it to our push-pull sales and marketing Facebook page because I'm not always sharing the graphics over there to Facebook. For the parenting site, I have it set up with Meet Edgar where I'm sharing our graphics continually through that to Facebook. So I don't post it over to Facebook. For personal stuff, if I feel like, I want to share it on Facebook, it's just really a case-by-case thing. But I wanted to say, if you share it to Twitter, you can, there's like, if you use the If This Then That app, the IFTTT, there is a recipe where if you post a picture to Instagram, it will post a native Twitter picture to Twitter. So instead of saying like your description with a link that takes people to Instagram, it'll just have like a Twitter picture there that shows up in the timeline.
Yeah, because if it's a link, I'm not as inclined to click on it.
Right.
Cool.
So
does that cover the do's and don'ts, or do you have a quick rundown?
I also wanted to touch on like video a little bit, because there's a couple ways you can. So
it's changed. You can post longer videos now, right?
A minute long video
to
Instagram on your timeline. Again, this is a case-by-case thing. There are John Lee Dumas, his Instagram account.
He's his last name? Not Dumas.
John Lee Dumas.
You sure?
Yeah, I've listened to his podcast multiple. I mean, I haven't listened in a while, but yeah. I used to listen avidly.
Okay. Just give me a hard time.
He's the host of the EO Fire podcast, and his Instagram is
Errors and Omissions?
EO, Entrepreneurs on Fire, I think. That's what it stands for.
Okay. Make you lose your train of
His Instagram is like all videos.
Okay.
Other people are all pictures. Push-pull, we've played around with alternating, a quote and then a video from us. So it really depends what your audience wants to see, what does well for you, what you do well with, if you have interesting video content to share, or, what you have time for. You can, I feel like a lot of people are shifting to like, they're doing pictures on their Instagram feed, and then they'll do video on Instagram stories. So like Instagram stories is like their Snapchat, where they can kind of give like, here's what's going on in my day, and just like talk to the camera a little bit.
And that will also show like at the very top too, if you look in like search. So it might be again, there might be a little bit less competition because there's not as many people doing the same thing with.
Yeah.
Now you can also go live on Instagram too, no?
You can.
That's new as of a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so Instagram Live you can. It does not save it anywhere. So once the live stream is done, that content is gone.
Okay.
It doesn't go to your Instagram stories. It doesn't stay in your thing for 24 hours. It's just gone. So
if it's on the internet,
a lot of people, I feel like Instagram Live was not as adopted as widely as it would have been because people don't have time to make content that just goes away.
Wasn't that Snapchat? Oh, no, but Snapchat
you get to see it at least for like 24 hours.
Okay.
Like it's just gone. So, there are some people that are using it, and one that Chatbooks actually was using it a lot, and they were smart about it because as soon as it was released, everybody was getting those notifications like Chatbooks is live now. Since it was a new feature, they were pushing it heavily, and Chatbooks, what they decided to do was they basically hosted a live talk show on Instagram Live. And I imagine that it did pretty well for them because everyone was getting notified about it. It was a new feature. People were curious about it. And it was something, I guess that they had the capacity to do, or maybe they were recording at the same time.
And shameless plug, Chatbooks is?
What?
For people who don't know what Chatbooks is.
Oh, well, I'm trying to think. I think if you go to momshare.com/chatbooks, you can read my whole review about it. But that's another Instagram feature.
So that integrates your Instagram, and you can basically have printed books off your Instagram photos.
Right. So, yeah. So Chatbooks is like my Instagram feed. Once I get to, I think it's 50 or 60, once I get to 60 pictures, I get a notification from Chatbooks that says your chat book is ready, and I can look, I can edit anything I want. But then I get a whole photo book that I didn't have to do anything. It's just because I posted things to Instagram. You can do it with Facebook. You could do it with your camera roll now.
And that wouldn't be a bad
there's a
idea
couple
to
options.
even do that for your business too. So if like in your lobby waiting room too, if you have like,
yeah.
if you're like an architect or something like that, and you like take pictures of that.
Well, I think they're only like when I started, they were $6. I think they're $8.
Oh my gosh!
Now.
Oh no, $8.
But if you use the code MOMSHA, MOMSHA, you can get your first book for free. If you sign up for a Chatbook series.
If you're an interior designer or something like that, like how cool would that be? Like if you can show off, some places that you've designed or other stuff too, or just
it's just a really easy, cheap way to get really nice photo books. So I'm absolutely a huge fan of Chatbooks for sure. They're not, an official sponsor of this. But I'm a huge fan and I advocate for them all the time. But what I think they might have been doing, because they were basically shooting like a live TV show or like a live
what
talk show.
What was the content about?
They'd have guests on and they'd talk about Chatbooks, and they'd talk about like these celebrity guests.
Oh, okay.
But looking back on it, I think probably what they were doing is they probably had multiple cameras, because I was like, this is a lot of content to just disappear. But they were probably shooting it with a camera for YouTube, and maybe someone's phone was Facebook Live, and then someone else's phone was Instagram Live.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that. Like,
so if you're going to do it and you have multiple devices, then yeah. If you're going to put out content, and you're not capturing it at the same time, and it's just going to disappear as soon as you click end, that's tough. It's a tough sell. The other thing I wanted to touch on really quickly is your overall profile, your overall page. It needs to look consistent. It needs to look nice. You need to have a common color scheme or theme to it. If you want, because a lot of people, if they like one picture, they click over to your profile and they look how it all looks together. And that's how they're determining whether to follow you or not.
Frequency. How important is that?
Frequency, the algorithms changed in the recent past, which really, really changed things. Because before, since it was just time sensitive, people were posting a lot, and you needed to stay top of mind. Now it's turned into Facebook a little bit more, where like, if my post is doing well and gaining traction, I will continue to get likes and follows from a single image, 24, 48, even, weeks later, it'll continue to trickle in. So you don't have to post as often. It really depends on your thing. but you don't have to feel like you have to post 3 times a day. I would say once a day, 3 times a week. You know, it's totally up to you. Post as much or as little as you want. It's not as huge of a deal right now.
That's good because I post on my Instagram like 3 times a year.
Well, 3 times a year is not as helpful. Oh, and I did mention that real quick too, but pay attention to your bio. That's something that you can change, something, you know, that catches people's eye. And feel free to change that and your link depending on what's going on and what you're promoting or what you're excited about at that point. But that was a lot of Instagram info. Do you think I covered?
I think so. I think, and we've covered in other podcasts too, when we talk about 2 main things in sales or in marketing. You want to figure out where you want to play, which you covered that, you know, in terms of the hashtags, and you can do your research and see where that is. And, and again, find things that are similar or competitor or, you know, other pages and find those people. And then you also talked about the actual strategies in terms of how to win on Instagram too, and also how to measure that and how to measure those expectations to be like, look, don't look for that 100% conversion too, because people say like, well, yeah, I'm posting Instagram 3 times a day, but like traffic that's coming directly from Instagram isn't there. And you also, I mean, you have to consider too, how many people see the Instagram, think about it, and then later on, I'm just going to go on Google. You know, I'm just going to type in whatever name too. Like,
I do that a lot too.
Or like a you know, like for like a product like those monthly box things, you see that on Instagram a lot too. And I might not click on the Instagram.
People need a lot of touches before they take any action too. And I mean, Instagram is free. It's getting harder and harder for page content to be seen on Facebook. So far, Instagram does not differentiate between personal and business accounts as far as I know in the algorithm. You can set your Instagram, you can set your Instagram up as a business account and connect it to your Facebook business page, and you get analytics, and you can run ads, you can set contact info. So there's some benefits to it. As far as I know, they're not harming you for having a business page, which is kind of a huge deal. So if you post a picture that people like, it'll gain traction just as if a personal page would do it. As
opposed when you go on Facebook as a business and you'll see like your organic reach is 20 unless you pay, then it'll be 2020.
Right. Yeah. So organic reach from a Facebook business page is rough.
The other thing too, like I'm not as used to seeing Instagram ads anyway, so maybe that would be a good idea if you wanted to kind of play around with that too. Like Facebook ads I kind of see all the time. I'm kind of sick of it. And then same thing for like YouTube ads, which we can cover that in a whole other topic. Okay.
Yeah. So I think Instagram ads, that's kind of an extension of it for sure. If you want to pay to play, I feel like you should definitely play around with it. It's not something I've done enough that I feel like I have a good grasp on it. I feel like I'd want to do a lot of, you know, A/B testing as far as images and descriptions, but I feel like you know, like you said, they're not as common there. And I feel like they do a good job targeting, or at least like the Instagram ads that I see, I click a lot of the time.
I was shamefully gonna admit that.
Like they're really catered to me. So I don't know how much of that is on Instagram's part and how much of that is on the companies doing a really good job targeting. But I've bought more from Instagram ads than in the last year than I've bought from any other sort of ad, maybe ever.
Do I need to cut you off?
All right, I shouldn't say buy. I should say click. I've clicked through and like browsed.
We could talk about this offline.
Check the credit card statements. I haven't bought it.
Okay.
But yeah, and as always, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Our Instagram is at pushpullsales, and our Twitter is at pushpullsales as well. Or you can email us pushpullsales@gmail.com. But I think that wraps things up for the week. Thank you to bensound.com for our intro and outro music, and thanks to you guys for listening. You can tune in next time where we'll tackle another topic You can view show notes and resources, like we said, at pushpullsales.com, a whole list of books there and all of that, and find us on social media.
Cool.
And other than that, we'll talk to you later.
See ya.